I stopped in at Mephisto's shoe shop the other day and picked up this sweet pair. It's crazy because these boots are so rare, it's difficult to really even ever put a price on it. So the first thing we kind of need to discuss are the affixes on the boots. Now, pretty much this is just a fancy way of saying what are the actual stats and different things that you can get on these boots. Now they're split into two categories, two lists. They are the prefixes and the suffixes. They're essentially just two lists of different things that you can get. Now boots are kind of a weak character slot here in Diablo 2 Resurrected, so there aren't really going to be a ton of boots that are going to help out anything with your kill speed. So generally what people look for on boots is stuff to help out your survivability. So out of these two lists, we'll just go with the prefixes first. Now what's generally always going to be the most important on rare boots is getting very high resistance rolls. If you don't get any resistances on a boot, you're pretty much just going to go feed them to Charcy. And the most valuable ones of all are actually going to get 3 prefix rolls all to a resistance, hopefully all above 30. Each one of the resistance rolls can roll between 5 and 40 though, so if you can get that max of 40, that's obviously going to be optimal. Now there are 4 different resistances you can get: the fire, cold, lightning, and poison, but poison is the one that is generally least desirable. There are certain instances, such as for the Immortal Sorceress or the Energy Shield Sorceress, because poison is the one element that actually does the worst towards your life pool. So in those particular instances, you do want to get a pair that have the high poison res, but for value-wise, cold, lightning, and fire. Now just because you don't get perfect resistance rolls isn't going to completely tank or nuke the boot. There are some other things you can get that are useful and can add to the value. They're just not quite on the same level as getting perfect resistance rolls. One such thing is getting mana on the boot, and you can actually get up to 40 mana. Now this can help with the things like that energy shield build I was talking about. Another one here that you can get on the boot, and that is getting extra defense. This roll now can get actually up to 100% enhanced defense, but like I said, this one isn't going to really help the boot out, in my view anyways, since defense is kind of not super important, especially when you're playing softcore, not hardcore. It's just kind of a complete wash. It's pretty much like, hey, at least you didn't get that 2 to light radius roll, huh? Now for prefixes, that's about it. Now it is incredibly limited, and if I didn't mention it already, as far as rare boots go, there's not a whole lot of variety. They all pretty much have to get the same things. Now when we get to the suffixes here, there's a slight different bit of variety on stuff that can add to the boots to increase the value, but it's going to be depending on what you want to do with it, whether you're going in the PvP realm or whether you're doing this type of character or that type of character. So I'll go ahead and talk about the one that I always want to have on one of these rare boots, and that's going to be extra magic find. You can actually get up to 25%. So that's a good amount since you can get up to 50 on war travs, but war travelers don't really have all these different resistances on them. A lot of times on the rare boots, I like to try to get the fire res to make up for what is not on the spirit, and also you want to get those other resistances as well that do not come on war traveler. So a solid 25% magic find roll here is awesome. Also, you can get some amazing gold find boots if you're rocking one of those gold find barbs heading out to Trav. You can get up to 80% extra gold find, and just like I said before with the magic find, you can of course get that resistances rolled on it as well. A couple more that aren't bad to roll on it, you can actually get a small dexterity roll up to 9 on there, so there will be points perhaps that you wouldn't have to put into dexterity. Instead, you could pump those into vitality to help out your survivability of your character, and also you can get up to 5 on replenish life. So nothing that I really do replenish life helps out with, but when you're doing PvP, you can't be using health potions and stuff like that, so getting a little bit of replenish life on your gear could extend the duel a little bit longer, giving you an extra chance to win. Another thing you can actually get on there is poison length reduced by 25%. It's almost like getting a 4th resistance on there, because if the poison lasts for 25% of the amount of time, it's obviously going to do 25% less total damage. So yeah, it's not quite having that 4th resistance on there, but almost. Now the next 2 up on the list are essentially mandatory to get a boot that is worth an incredibly large amount. If it's just one you're using temporarily, or if you're on a sorceress who's never going to be running just out magic finding, you could definitely get away without having these on here. But for the most value, you definitely need these next 2, and that is faster run walk and faster hit recovery. Now I don't even know if I said it in the right way. I get attacked all the time. Is it run walk? Is it walk run? It doesn't really matter to me, but I know it melts down some people out there if I say it backwards. So if you're one of those people, I do apologize. But yeah, you can get up to 30% faster run walk on boots, and that kind of makes sense with you're wearing boots on your feet. They're going to make you run faster, so having this roll on boots, obviously no brainer. The other one I mentioned, incredibly important, the hit recovery. It can just roll a flat 10% hit recovery if you get that roll. There isn't even a range on it. So mega quick, just an example of how rare it is to actually find these super awesomely rolled rare boots. I'm going to show you what I found on my single player Diablo 2 Resurrected pretty much since I've been playing it. You know, I stream a lot of days during the week, and these are the best boots I have found out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pairs I probably ID'd. Right here we have some with pretty high lightning and fire rolls at 33 and 34, and it only got a 12% on the magic find. It can get up to 25, but it did get 4 to dexterity as well. It got a little bit of defense, so it's got some stuff going for it, but as you can see, this probably is only maybe about halfway there. Now here's a pair right up above my head that come pretty darn close. We got 20% faster walk run, 10 short of the 30. Cold res is a little bit on the low side, so is the lightning. The fire is right up towards the max, but we do get a 60% gold find. That's why I have it over here on my barbarian. You see him standing right there. So here's another pair of boots that's pretty good, but some of the stuff needs to be a little bit higher. Now here's a pretty crazy rolled boot. You see it doesn't really have a lot of stuff, but it has 40 to both of fire and poison. The max rolls along with 20 to cold and 20% faster walk run. The craziest thing of these boots, in my opinion, I think, required only level 18 for maximum rolls on the resistances there. So, I mean, for a level 18 boot, this looks pretty nasty. Not going to be that beneficial on single player because there is no low level dueling or whatever, but it's a pretty crazy to see that thing. And I found these from like Nightmare and Dario. And then now here we got another one, 20% faster walk run. The defensive roll, meh. We got a 4 to dex, so not max, but a useful stat on there. The maximum of 42, the fire res, the poison res, and a pretty darn good magic find roll. But, you know, once again, not everything is quite all the way up there. And that's the extent of it. Out of hundreds and hundreds of pairs, those are the absolute best ones I found across hundreds of hours probably of gameplay here on my single player Diablo 2 Resurrected. So first off, I'll come at you with what my favorite boot to find is, essentially the absolute perfect one that I'd be looking for. I've never found one, of course, because it's so crazy for all this stuff to roll absolutely perfect. It's so uncommon. I've found some pretty close ones. And right here is my absolute perfect boot that I could possibly find. So first we're going to look at the prefixes, and I'm going with those resistance rolls, of course. So I'm looking for 40 resistance to each of fire, lightning, and poison. Now, I picked poison here because, like I said, that new energy shield build that I really like playing, to be perfectly honest, gets wrecked if you don't have the poison res up, because the energy shield will eat at the lightning attacks and the fire stuff that hits you. But poison will tick it down quite quick, so getting that poison res up for that one is important. And then the other two that I generally want to try to cap out the most importantly anyways is the fire and the lightning, for obvious reasons. Whether you're getting hit with those souls, whether you're getting hit with different fire attacks, those cause the most problems in my experience. And also, you usually have a rain frost on for that cannot be frozen, and that actually has 20% to cold absorb on it as well. So another reason why you don't really need to pay attention as much to cold resistance after you kind of have those more end game builds. So that knocked all three of those prefixes off all at once, super easy. Let's move on to the suffix. Now it's going to be pretty obvious for the first two here which ones I want. It's going to be that 30% faster walk run and the 10% faster hit recovery. Now, even if you're on a teleporting sorceress and stuff, maybe it's just the way that I end up playing, but I end up zigzagging back and forth when I'm casting, when I'm picking items up, and I hate walking super slow, also saving you time when you're running through town to get out to the next run. So 30% faster walk run is almost a must. You can get away with it since you're doing a lot of teleporting. If it doesn't have it, they can be incredibly useful, but if I really had to choose, I want it on there. The next one up is the 10% faster hit recovery. For obvious reasons, that's going to help out your survivability. Now, anyone that knows me is going to guess what the next roll that I want on there, and that is that 25% better magic find. Now, I'm primarily a magic find kind of person. I don't really jump into the PvP realm all that much, so if you were going into that, you'd probably want something else here, but if you ever get the chance to, you always want to stack up as much magic find as possible, as long as it doesn't hurt your kill speed. And since on your boots, there isn't really an opportunity to bump up your kill speed in any real meaningful way, that's why I want an extra 25% magic find here. And that right there is everything that I want on my perfect boot. Now we're going to move on to the absolutely most godly, most valuable, rare boot that you can find. The prefixes are going to start off almost essentially the same, except you're going to want to have the max rolls on lightning, fire, and cold. Now these are generally referred to tri-res boots. Some people, this is just some people on the internet, I don't know who makes the rules and this stuff, But if your boot rolls with poison res, they just don't even consider it a tri-res boot in their mind. Now the poison resistance is definitely a res, but I do understand it. The poison kills you slower, giving you a chance to run away and take potions and survive or whatever. And with the other 3 resistances, if you get blasted right away, it could take you out, boom, like that. Now on the Suffix, it's not going to be shocking because I kind of already mentioned that you have to have this stuff. So that's going to be the 30% faster walk run roll and the 10% faster hit recovery. Obviously, in the PvP realm, running away from the person who's trying to kill you is going to be beneficial. And obviously, hit recovery, you don't want to get stuck in that hit recovery animation, not being able to counteract whatever the person you're fighting is doing. So 10% faster hit recovery, mega help. So for the last one on this boot, I think it's a pretty close call, but I think it comes down to 3. That is the 9 to dexterity, it is the 25% poison length reduced, and the 5 replenish life. In my opinion though, I think that 25% poison length reduced would be valued way more than especially the dexterity and even more than the 5 replenish life. So that's what we're throwing on this boot. Now, if you ever actually do find this exact rare boot, you, my friend, will forever be a Diablo 2 god.